Kings and Queens of Scotland. Marie de Guise. Marie was born on November 22, 1515 in Bar-le-Duc, a part of the Duchy of Bar in northeastern France. She was the eldest of 12 siblings. Her parents were French nobleman Claude, the Duke of Guise, and his wife, Antoinette de Bourbon. When she was 5 years old, Marie was her younger sister Louise's godmother. Soon afterwards, she was sent to Pont-à-Mousson to live with her widowed grandmother, Philippa of Guelders, at a convent of Poor Clares. At the convent, Marie was given a very Catholic and religious education, with the probable intent for her to join the monastic lifestyle as a nun. Unlike most women and men at the time, Marie was a tall woman at 5'11" and very strong, almost muscular. However, her mother wrote that she frequently had terrible colds. Marie was immersed in a selfless life of service, including cooking, cleaning, and gardening. But when her uncle, the Duke of Lorraine, met her, he was so impressed by her that she was removed from the convent and sent to the French court in hopes that she would be married. Marie first appeared at the French court and made her debut at the wedding of Francis I and his second wife, Eleanor of Austria. In 1534, a marriage was arranged for Marie to Louis, the Duke of Longueville and Count of Dunois. The two married on August 4, 1534, at the Louvre Palace in Paris. The union turned out to be a very happy one and the two were deeply in love with each other. The couple had 2 children, Francis and Louis. Marie and her husband kept in contact after he left for Rouen around 1537. On June 9, 1537, Louis died in Rouen. In his last letter to Marie, he explained his absence to the family and his illness. Marie was devastated by his loss, which led her to keep his final letter for the rest of her life. Now a 21-year-old widow, Marie was now a single woman that could be used in any way possible by the French monarchy. It was rumoured that the Dauphin, the future Henry II, was in love with her and wanted to annul his marriage to Catherine de' Medici in favour of Marie. King Francis I began making negotiations with his former son-in-law, James V of Scotland, who was recently widowed after the death of his first wife and Francis's daughter, Madeleine, to marry Marie. King Henry VIII was trying to prevent the marriage from happening, as he himself wanted to marry her after the death of his third wife, Jane Seymour, and asked for Marie's hand in marriage. She refused to marry Henry after the chaos involved with his previous marriages. A part of this marriage contract ensured Marie residences in Scotland if the king predeceased her. The marriage was finalised in January 1538. King Francis provided James with a dowry similar to that of a princess. Her mother, Antoinette, found it suspicious that Francis included her grandson's inheritance in her dowry. When Marie heard the news that she was being betrothed to James, she was devastated, as she didn't want to leave France and her family, as well as still mourning for the loss of her husband and son. It was rumoured that her father tried to delay the marriage, and James, perhaps realising her reluctance to marry him, asked her to support him and give him advice. Marie finally accepted his proposal and she was married by proxy on May 9, 1538, at the Château de Chirtedon in Chirtedon. Many Scottish noblemen travelled to France to attend the proxy wedding. Marie departed from France in Havre on June 10 that same year, leaving her 2-year-old son behind in the care of her mother. She arrived in Scotland 6 days later on June 16. James and Marie were finally married in person at St Andrew's Cathedral on June 18, 1538. Her mother-in-law, the Dowager Queen of Scotland, Margaret Tudor, wrote that I trust she will prove a wise princess. I have been much in her company, and she bears herself very honourably to me, with very good entertaining. In August of that same year, Marie and James, as well as 6 of her ladies-in-waiting, went on a hunting trip to Glenfingalloth. Her mother sent Marie masons, including renowned Nicholas Roy, miners, and an armourer. She also had the French artist, Pierre Guise, sent to Scotland to decorate her palaces. Marie's coronation happened on February 22, 1540 at Holyrood Abbey. A new crown was made specifically for the occasion. The abbey was decorated with tapestries and special relics were brought in from Holyrood Chapel. Women were summoned from around the country for her coronation. A salute of 30 guns was fired from David's Tower at Edinburgh Castle and a fireworks show was presented afterwards up the hill. Marie and James had 3 children, 2 sons, James and Robert. However, both boys died on April 21, 1541. Marie's mother wrote to her that they were still young and should hope for more children. She also thought that the sudden change of the wet nurse and overfeeding contributed. On October 18, 1541, her mother-in-law, Margaret Tudor, died. Since Margaret was the mediator between Scotland and England, the countries were at each other's throats. Marie gave birth for the final time on December 8, 1542, to a daughter, Mary. James was on his deathbed now, but when he heard the news of the birth of a daughter, he allegedly said it came with a lass, and it'll end with a lass. Marie, now a widow, was very suspicious of her daughter's regent, the man next in line to the throne, James Hamilton. She frequently moved around with her daughter, infant Queen Mary. Her daughter was initially betrothed to Edward, the son of King Henry VIII and the heir to the English throne, but the marriage was called off. The cancelled betrothal led Henry to declare war on Scotland, called the Rough Wooing. After many failed wars, the Scottish government asked for French assistance. King Henry II agreed to assist in exchange for a marriage between Mary and his own son, Francis. Marie sent her daughter to France in August of 1548. During the final decade of her life, Marie visited her daughter in France several times. She also visited England in 1551, where she met King Edward VI and Princess Elizabeth, the future Elizabeth I. In 1553, Marie began fighting to remove Hamilton as the regent and replace him with her illegitimate stepson, James Stuart, 1st Earl of Murray. On April 12, 1554, Marie was made the regent and her daughter, Mary, sent her a letter saying, "The Queen, my mother." During her 6-year tenure as the regent, she frequently travelled around Scotland for political reasons. Marie, however, was unsuccessful at controlling the Reformation. Unusual for a Catholic at the time, she tolerated the Protestants of Scotland, as she needed support for her pro-French policies. Around 1557, a group of Scottish lords formed the Lords of the Congregation, which meant to reform the Scottish people. Queen Elizabeth I of England supported the Lords, which divided the country. In 1559, the Lords made peace with Marie by promising religious tolerance. Marie became seriously ill and died of dropsy on June 11, 1560. Her body was laid in state under a shroud until her funeral in July of 1561, which her daughter attended, now the Dowager Queen of France and Queen of Scotland. She was interred at the Church of St. Pierre-les-Dames in Reims, France, where her sister was an abbess. Her tomb was destroyed during the French Revolution. Thank you for watching my video. Please like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for my new videos.